Marina, and this is Rapunzel Fiber Arts. I am a knitter and a spinner and an all-around crafter. Welcome to my channel, where I talk about some of my crafting adventures and exploits. I think we're definitely on the verge of exploits today, but we'll get into that soon. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. So in my last video, I talked about my stash down for 2026. Now I have all these big lofty goals that I would like to work through. But the first thing I have to do before we even get to 2026 is inventorying my fiber stash. And if you saw that video, I'll link it up in the cards, but I have a lot of stash. I did a little stash walkthrough in the video, and I brought up more because there were some in the basement and some in my partner's office, so there are now 9 bins sitting behind you, in addition to everything that I inventoried and did the walkthrough with, which is a little bit alarming. This room now contains almost all of my fiber stash because I have like a couple whips that are scattered around the house that I should add to my fiber stash and yarn stash inventory, whatever. But yeah, it's all in this room with the exception of a couple whips, and it's a little bit alarming. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we are going to be talking about my cotton and acrylic shelves. These are not yarns that I draw from very frequently. I am 100% a wool girl. I love me some wool. I love fleeces. I love crunchy wools, like something a little coarser. I love the feel of it. It just makes me really happy. So I don't tend to work with acrylics and cottons very often. I'm not just inventorying this today, although we will get to that. First off, I want to cull this a little bit. I want to work out what I'm actually going to use and what's just a pretty thing that I should donate or maybe try to sell. Yeah, there's quite a bit of it. I have 3 of these cubes that contain the yarn we're talking about today. Near the floor, I have packing materials for my Etsy, and then the second tier is this side. We have these bins, which are just samples of yarns. I got this from Swanson's, which is a fiber reuse store near me. And I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I might need to give this back to Swanson's, to be honest, because I've had it for a while and I haven't done anything with it. And there's really cool stuff in here. Here we go, getting into the figuring out what's actually going to stay. Like, I definitely want to keep this. This is stainless steel thread. Let's see if I can get that to be less glary for you. Less glare, please. Yeah, so this is 75% wool, 25% stainless steel. And you hold it alongside whatever yarn you're working with, and then you can you can do the sensors on your phone. I'm pretty sure that's how it's supposed to work. I'll double check that before I hold on to this, but I'm excited about that sample. But most of the rest of these are just scrap bits of all kinds of things. Here's some roving, pencil roving, just in here with the yarns. Most of them are in bags, a couple of them aren't. This has 10% bison in it. Like, there's some cool stuff, for sure. But I also haven't opened these in like a year. So I have 2, close? Yes. I have 2 of those bins that I would like to figure out something to do with, because right now they're just in my stash, taking up space and not being used. I mean, they're good for like accents, like accent colors at a cuff or on a hat for the thicker ones, but yeah, I don't really know what to do with them. So if you have any ideas, please feel free to leave them in the comments, so that I can get some assistance figuring out what to do with all this stuff. Moving up, or I guess moving over, because we're still on this level, this is my cotton yarns. So I've got like a whole bunch of red cotton and a whole bunch of blue cotton. I thrifted these from my craft reuse store, which is called Swanson's. And I just don't know what I'm going to do with them. So these might have to go, because I don't really work with 100% cotton very often, and I don't know what I would do with this. So I think I'm going to redonate these. They've only been in my stash for a couple months, and I just don't think I'm ever going to use them, because I'm not going to make a 100% cotton garment or some kind of dish towel with these, because they're pretty fine. And I don't really want a 100% cotton garment, because I feel like you always hear about those stretching out and having issues because they don't have the elasticity of wool. And as I've already mentioned, I'm a wool girl. I'm always going to want to be wearing wool like I am today. So I think I'm going to let these go. I'm gonna part with these, which is a little sad, but not too sad. So let's set these aside in the donation pile. I found more. This is the same brand as the red cotton. So I'm gonna, it's a really nice blue though. I don't think I can make something with the red and the blue without feeling very patriotic, which is not my usual vibe. So I think I'm gonna let these go too, even though I do really like this shade of blue. All right, so next up we have this purple. There's actually 2 different shades of purple in here that I will pull out. And these are, what weight is this? It says a US 7, so this is like worsted weight. And I was thinking about making like a summery duster with this, like something long and flowy. And I'm still into that idea. I think the pattern I was looking at called for different yarn, and I was just going to BS it because that's how I do things sometimes. But I wasn't sure if I was going to have enough. So maybe I switch. All right, hang on. I love purple, but I also love blue. So I'm going to see if I have enough of either of these to make that duster that I was thinking about. Yeah. So I'm going to think about that and think about this purple because I really like this purple. I think this is just wool. Yeah, that's just a wool scrap that I stole, or not stole, that I acquired at the craft reuse store that should not be living in my acrylic stash. Yeah, because this purple, this like brighter purple, I love it. I love jewel tone purples. I love purples. I can't help it. So I think I'm going to make something with this and this as an accent. So I'm going to hold on to this, and I'm going to hold on to the blue, and I'm going to think about it. But we're still getting rid of the red cotton. So that's something, and hopefully I decide on one or the other of these projects that I'm considering with the other 100% cotton in blue and purple. My last cotton yarn is a whole bunch of Dishy. This is a Knit Picks brand. And I got a whole bunch of different greens at this point, like 3 or 4 years ago. And I started making a dish towel out of one that looked like this. I'm still working on that first dish towel. However, green matches my kitchen. My kitchen has a frog theme. Because there's a frog tile right above the stove, and then we got other frog decor to make it a frog-themed kitchen. So I think I'm going to hold on to these greens and either figure out if I can weave or crochet dish towels, because I think those would be more fun than knitting for me. I don't love knitting with cotton because it's so inelastic. I feel like the stitches are tighter and they just, the fiber doesn't have the same life that wool has, that sproing, that, I don't know, they're both like natural fibers, but I really prefer wool most of the time. So I think these will stay in my stash, but I might have to alter how I'm making the dish towels. Because I could weave them. I think my loom can handle yarn this thick. I might have to use a different warp, but this could be the weft. So I'm going to hold on to these in, like I said, a variety of greens, because I think that would be really cute in my kitchen if I could make some dish towels or placemats or napkins or whatever with all these fun greens. So I'm gonna keep these, but I might put them somewhere more visible so I actually work on them. Or keep the one that's active, an active project, more accessible so that they're not floating around waiting for their opportunity to turn into something. All right, I got a box for our donations so that they're not just sitting on the floor. Moving on up, we've got acrylic and some cotton, like some thin crochet cotton. Let's do the acrylic first. And then this is some wool locks, so there's just everything everywhere in my studio. I'll find another home for this because they're just locks that have been slightly fluffed, but you can still see that curl at the end. And this is shoved full. I don't remember what I was hoping to do with this, but I know it's a Blue Face Leicester Gotland cross fleece. I think this sheep was named Blueberry, but it might have been Pippin. The things you remember. Don't remember what I was making with it, but I remember the sheep's name, or possible names, because it's one or the other. So I'll set that aside. Yep. And everything tumbles to the ground. Okay, I want to look at these acrylics, because if they are unpleasant to the touch, they're going. And that hopefully will be an easy way to decide. Yeah. I don't love that. That feels very plasticky to me. Yeah. These are also going to get donated. And they're all the same brand, so I'm just gonna do this. Even though that's a fun color, and I like that. If I don't like the way the yarn feels, I'm not gonna use it, so be gone. Alright. Whew. Awesome. We're making progress on the culling the stash portion of this project. So next up, I got some crochet cottons in a variety of colors and quantities. I don't use these for like making crochet doilies or whatever it is these are intended for. I have to get a prop. I'll be right back. Okay, so I make these. These are bags like this that your linens come in. And what I've done is I've crocheted into the fabric of the zipper. Let's see if I can show you a good spot where I did that. So you can see there's yarn going along the bottom here. It's like a light green, a little bit of gray right there. But you're doing like a crochet chain through the fabric of the zipper. So that's like your foundational row. and then I work my way down, doing a mosaic crochet stitch with a bunch of different colors. And I've done this a couple times with wool, like sock yarns. This was a bunch of different leftover sock yarns that I had. Pardon the dog hair. But I make these. I was contemplating figuring out how to do a set or a bag like that was moth proof. Hence where these come in. So I think I'm going to hold on to these. I have a couple more that are an active whip right now. Problem is adding these into my inventory on Ravelry. That's gonna be a pain in the butt because they have a wood cone inside and they're not all brand new. Like this one's brand new, so I know, well, theoretically I know how much there is if it said that, but it doesn't. It was 35 cents originally, so that's some old yarn. It's pretty cool, actually. In case you were wondering. Bedspread cotton. That's, I don't know. I think that's cool. I think old stuff is cool. That's why I have this old Bernat box behind me that I got at the craft reuse store. Because I think old supplies and things that we can still use and function with are very cool. So, that doesn't answer my question of whether or not I'm keeping these. I have a gold sparkly one. Can you see the sparkle? Maybe not, but it's shiny, so maybe you can. Got more gold. That one's really shiny. Blue, pink, white, yellow, and then downstairs I have like a bunch of pinks and blues and purples for the one that's in progress. The one of those bags that I already showed you that's in progress. I guess I'll keep these because I do want to do stuff with them, and of the things in my stash, I don't have a ton of them. So these I'm going to leave here and use at some point, probably, and if not, I'll donate them because that's always an option. So that's good. All right. We are on to the last compartment that contains yarn here. I think this is going to be a little bit tricky because these are all acrylics. Like even these are cotton acrylic and 3% other fiber. So as I've mentioned, I'm not crazy about cotton or acrylic. I do need to have some in my stash because I have some vegans in my life that are not willing to use wool. So I should hold on to some of my acrylic stash so I can make them gifts that they can wear. I'm working on some fingerless mitts for them for Christmas this year. But I should hold on to something that I can make cool things with. I like these. Not this one. This one I can donate. It's the same yarn but sparkly. Hopefully you can see that. And part of this ball has been used. These were also thrifted things. Okay. So I have 3 of these, which is quite a bit. I believe they are all the same colorway. Calming Desert, Calming Desert, Calming Desert. Yeah. And I have a bunch of this yarn. Excuse me. Can you stay there? A bunch of this yarn. And that really well matches this shade of red, maroon, pinky purpley red. And so I was thinking about holding these together and making something. Because I thought that would be cool. And I still think that would be cool. Let's see how much of these things we have. So assuming this is the full 8 ounces, which I would say it is, it looks pretty big. This is 527 yards. And I think I have approximately 2 because some of it is balled up. But I'd say that's about the same volume. So we'll say I have 2. 2 of those is, we'll say, about 1,000 yards. And then each of these is also 500 yards. So I should be good with 2 of each. And then 1,000 yards at a bulky weight, because this is worsted weight and this is probably at least a DK, so that's going to be pretty bulky. Hold this out of the way so you can see everything that I'm talking about. I think that would be cute. And I'm going to hold on to the third one of these just in case. So these are staying. Yeah. These are staying. Maybe as a thing for me, but might just be good to have around because, like I said, sometimes I'm knitting for vegans. So we're going to keep these, and I'm moving them down so that I can keep working through this compartment of my shelves. All right. Yeah. We got this. We got this. It's a little harder than I expected, but we got this. All right. So some of this stuff actually relates to a work in progress. Because I was making these out of acrylic and cotton, and I made a whole bunch of them with the intention of making crocheted overalls, which are like shorts overalls, which I'm still excited about. And obviously I've made, let's see how many of these I can hold up to show you, because I've made, oops, that's a different thing. I've made a lot of these. This is maybe half of what's in the bag. And they're a little dusty, as you might be able to tell floating around your screen and also making me want to sneeze. But anyway, I have a little bit of the light pink, or light purple, and a little bit of the dark purple. Those are staying in my stash because I presumably want to finish this project. There we go. I'll let those supplies live together, so they're not going back on the shelf. They're going to stay in that bag, or maybe a less old non-paper bag. We'll see. Maybe. So that leaves us with this. This one, this gray, is left over from a cat pouch that I made with these together. But I decided that this would be good to have if I run out of one of the purples for that coverall project. Or if I need to attach squares with another color, because I don't have a ton of either of the purples at this point. This is also going in there. All right. Now we get to some of the harder decisions. Let's go by feel as a start, because if any of these feel bad, they're not staying. These ones don't feel good. They're not staying. And again, I'm pretty picky about my fiber. I really like natural fibers. I really don't like acrylic. Kind of on principle, but like I said, I need to have some in my stash. This feels okay. These feel okay. I don't love that red heart. And this is all the same stuff. It's all red heart. Yeah, I don't love that, but I do love the color. All right, we'll keep those. We'll keep those, and these, and these. I've also been working on one of these bags out of worsted weight acrylic, but it's huge. It's like one that a thick comforter would come in. Am I going to finish that project? That's another question. We'll get to that at a future date, because I don't have the bandwidth for that right now. But we've pretty much filled this box. Like, that's full. So that's good. we'll take that. That's gonna all get donated. I'll bring that up to the place that I go called Swanson's the next time that I go there. I try to go there, theoretically I try to go there every week, but there are often gaps. I don't think I've been there in like a month. But I will go back. I always go back. Because I like it there. People are nice, and I like helping out, sorting knitting supplies, which is often what I end up doing there. So I'll bring all this there. And next up is adding all of this to inventory. And looking for projects for the cotton yarn. And seeing what I find for that. Okay. Yeah. I think we're good here. Alright. We're gonna change scenery like that. I'm back. Slightly less well lit, but I'm here. So this is what I've been doing for going through and inventorying my stash. I have this off-white backdrop, got a ring light up here, making it all well lit, and my iPad, which I've been using to add things to inventory. Trying to think how I want to do this, because I have some other stuff I want to talk through. Some wool, some spinning fiber. Do you want to hear about it? Or should I look up patterns for the cotton yarn? Let's look up patterns for the cotton yarn. We'll get to the other stuff in a minute. Alright. So, the pattern is Sage Summer Dream. And it's like this really nice, lacy, flowy Ruana cardigan. So I'll put up some images of that so that you can observe and enjoy that design, because I think it is really nice. Has cute fringe. Alright, it calls for a DK weight yarn. Calls for a DK weight yarn. And I'm probably going to make one of the biggest sizes, so 1,700 yards of DK weight yarn. Alright. What are you? What weight are you? It says 3, size 3, and judging by the fact that it's in meterage and not yards, I'm going to say that's 3mm needle. Well, that's teeny tiny. That's not helpful. What about for a crochet? Crochet was also 3. So this is lighter. This is lighter than the pattern calls for, and then this is heavier. Okay. Stand by. I gotta do some math. Alright. Alright. So I think I have 13 of the 2 kinds of purple, and I only have 8 of the blue fingering weight. So I think I'm going to stick with my purple. I'm going to stick with my purple option, which gives me about 1,100 yards, but it's a thicker crochet hook, because this calls for, it only has knitting instructions, but it calls for 5mm, and this calls for a 4 or 5mm. I would prefer to have more yardage because I want to make it long and flowy, but it has 3 length options where I can hopefully determine as I'm making it how long I can make it. So I think I'm going to stick with the purple and ditch the blue, or donate the blue. I really like the color of the purple more, so I think I'm going to stick with the purple. And hopefully make this garment, but if not, I can make something different if I need to. But I think I prefer the purple color. I already swatched in the purple. So I'm going to keep the purple. Which means these can go off into the abyss. Okay, so I'll bag these. Well, I guess I should take a picture of them. Should add them to the Ravelry stash. I feel like that's going to be boring for you to watch. Because I just enter them into Ravelry on my iPad, which is not, like, going to be interesting for you to consume as media. So let's talk about the other thing I want to talk about. So, I have a box. This box is filled with mystery fibers, like this, which is lovely green and brown hand-dyed, but I don't know what it is. I hypothesized that it was Romney, but I don't actually know. And I have a whole bunch of these that I've guessed what's in them. And the reason for that is that I got a Spunky Eclectic Bits and Bobs grab bag, back when Spunky Eclectic was still dying, which I believe she is no longer doing. Sadly, she made lovely stuff. But I have this, which is just little bits and bobs, as the name of the thing suggests. And then I have a whole bunch more. I might have gotten a full pound of this, not the 8 ounces that the bag says. So I've got maybe Falkland, maybe Wensleydale, maybe Merino Soy Silk, maybe BFL. So my thought is maybe I should donate these. Because I don't really make mini skeins. I like making big honkin' skeins because I have my e-spinner that has an 8-ounce bobbin and I like to fill it and then have one or multiple massive skeins. I don't do mini skeins. So I think I can get rid of these, which makes me a little sad because she doesn't dye anymore. And I could do stuff with them. I could play with these. Could play with them, but I have so much fiber and yarn to choose from. You're watching the process of somebody letting go who does not want to let go. But I think I can do that. I think, like, I can't use them from my Etsy shop because I don't know for sure what's in them. They are very pretty. They are very pretty. I mean, this is maybe all one bump. That's not insubstantial. Yeah, that's all one bump. And that would be really fun to make into a little skein if I was, like, wanting something that's like a palette cleanser. And she doesn't dye anymore. These are, like, limited edition. Don't want to have FOMO. So I guess I'll hold on to these. I will hold on to these. It's gonna make adding to my fiber stash on Ravelry a bit of a pain, but I can do that. And same for these. This is from a class I took with Jillian Moreno, talking about how to draft and spin different things. So, for example, I have a fiber sample and a spun sample and a little bit of a description of how I spun it. And then I have, like, all the rest of this fiber. So I could make more mini skeins with this. And maybe put this in, like, a notebook. So I have a couple pages. This one was really fun, where I did apply back on itself. I drafted it together with a color of blue Corriedale, drafted it together with purple Corriedale, and drafted together with a gray Corriedale. And you can see all those different colors that it makes when you add a variegated colorway to a solid colorway. So this is good reference. This is good reference. I should definitely keep these. And that's just the class itinerary. Okay, so yeah, I'm keeping all of this. I will have to add it to my stash, and that might be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I think I would rather hold on to this than let it go right now. Yeah, so I think that's it. That was the stuff I really needed to talk about and figure out what I wanted to do with. And we got rid of a whole bunch of my acrylic and some of my cotton. So that's good. Yeah, I'm gonna call this a win. I'm gonna call this a win of a recording session, a win of a video. I'm pretty happy about it. Getting close to finishing inventorying, which is very exciting. I have a bit left to go, but I would say I'm 3/4 of the way done. Something like that in terms of items. Maybe yeah, about that. Because I have all these little odds and ends, but then I also have like some fleeces that are 1 fleece per bin. So that's pretty good. If you liked this slightly chaotic video of me going through some of my stash, figuring out what to keep and what to donate, and the whole concept of doing a Stashdown for 2026, which again I will have linked both in a card earlier, and I'll also put it in the description box of my Stashdown introductory video, so you can watch that if that's your kind of jam. If you made it through this video, it's probably your kind of jam. But I think that's going to be it for today, and I will see you in the next one. Oh, also, this is the Alchemy Pullover by Knit California. It has a very lovely detail across the shoulders. If you are so interested in what I'm wearing, that'll also be in the description below. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye, friends!